What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com, bringing the ruckus. Can you tell I got a lot of time on my hands today? I'm in a hotel room. I've been working all day. I'm sequestered. Anyway, my man Ryan Rodal wrote a great article on the top 10 bodybuilders of all time, and I'm going to read it. I want you guys to comment down below and tell us what you agree and disagree with. I will tell you, when we posted this on Instagram, on Facebook, a lot of people thought I'll tell you at the end what people thought, and then you could chime in as to what your thoughts are. Number one, I'm going to give you my opinion on all these bodybuilders and why I think it's a good idea to put them where you put them. Arnold Schwarzenegger, 7 Mr. Olympia titles, the movies, he basically brought bodybuilding to the forefront at the pinnacle of what bodybuilding was. He is the promoter and the main name behind the Arnold Classic in Ohio, the biggest bodybuilding show. They're bigger than the Olympia. The crowds are bigger, and with Kai Green competing in it and not the Olympia next year, I believe the Arnold Classic will overtake the Olympia as the premier bodybuilding show to compete at. So Arnold is number one. I don't see anybody disagreeing with that based on his star power and bodybuilding. Remember, we're just not rating them as per what we think their bodies were on stage. I'm looking at this as an overall, who the hell they are and what they've done for the sport. Number two, this one was easy for me. The greatest of all time on stage, 8-time Mr. Olympia, Ronnie Coleman. Stage weight was 290 to 300 pounds. Shredded glutes. I was there when Ronnie Coleman came on stage. I was there when he brought that 290-pound shredded glute package. I was there. And usually when people come out, I remember one time Branch Warren came and people were like, wow. People made noise, right? They were like, ooh, because Branch brought these grainy shreds that no one's ever brought before. I remember seeing video of when Rich Gaspari showed his shredded glutes for the first time. Ooh, okay? I remember this. People who don't like me, someone comes out and batch, say, boo, they boo. Ronnie came out, utter silence. Silence. So Ronnie Coleman, definitely number two to Arnold, arguably number one on stage because he has the most titles. Actually, Lee Haney is tied. 8 Mr. Olympia titles. Haney brought mass and just a beautiful V-taper and was a gentleman. Lee Haney was the greatest ambassador for bodybuilding next to Arnold, a man of faith, a man of conviction, and a man known for saying stimulate, don't annihilate. He still works in sports nutrition, still works in training people, and maintains a great physique to this day. Lee Haney is definitely deserving of number 3. Number 4 is actually the guy who is the reason that I became a competitive bodybuilder, and that's Dorian Yates. I remember seeing Dorian Yates. I remember when I was a teenager. I was 13 years old. My football coach told me, unless I started lifting weights, I'm never going to play. I'm not going to play a lick, is exactly what Coach Carroll at Culver City High School said at that time. At that day, I went to the 7-Eleven across the street from my house on Centinela Boulevard, right by Centinela and La Tierra in Inglewood, California. And I remember walking into 7-Eleven, and I remember going and saying, I saw Muscle Mag. And there was Amy Fodley on the cover. Amy Fodley had a great ass. I'm like, that's great if I want to masturbate. Muscle and Fitness, I believe Frank Seppi was on the cover. And I was like, he looks good, but that's not what I want. And then I saw Flex. I saw Dorian's grainy hamstrings in that side pose where his hamstrings were displayed and he was wearing the tight shorts. And I remember seeing the grains in the veins and saying, that's the kind of look I'm going to go for. I might not ever achieve that, but that's the look I'm going to go for. And now I look at my hamstrings and they're at that grainy level, and I'll never be as good as Dorian. But Dorian definitely, in my opinion, deserves number 4, 6-time Mr. Olympia. Number 5 is actually the most controversial we have yet on Facebook, and that's Phil Heath. Phil the Gift Heath, he's still competing, still the reigning Mr. Olympia, and in my opinion is the most genetically blessed bodybuilder next to Kevin Levrone, who you'll see did not make the list because Kevin's never won a Mr. Olympia. A lot of people are saying, what about this guy? What about that guy? At the end of the day, I think winning an Olympia puts you in the running for the list. If you didn't win an Olympia, you had to do something really special. But Phil Heath at number 5, and I'm going to say that his genetics put him at number 5, but I will also say, as someone who's trained with, Phil Heath and trained with Dorian, I think that if Phil took his training to the level that Dorian, to the level that even Kai does, Phil would be unbeatable and Phil would win as many Olympias up until he was 50 or 60 years old. Phil honestly trains really hard, But if you've never trained with Dorian, you've never trained. And I've trained with Dorian, I've trained with Kai, and I've trained with Ronnie. And I'll tell you what, Phil trains really, really hard, but there's a huge discrepancy. But Phil is definitely deserving, in my opinion, of the number 5 spot. Number 6 is Frank Zane. You think of beauty, physique, you think of aesthetics, you think of a guy who won the Olympia and had a beautiful vacuum at 185 pounds on stage. You think of Frank Zane just for the simple fact that he is an aesthetic beast amongst freaks. You have to give Frank Zane the number 6 spot. I completely agree with that. Jay Cutler coming in at number 7. Again, Ryan, I really agree with your picks here. Not to be confused, as he put, with Jay Cutler of the Chicago Bears. This Jay Cutler actually won a championship. 4-time Mr. Olympia. Just combined mass with a rivalry, one of the best rivalries of all times in any sport, in my opinion. Jay Cutler versus Ronnie Coleman. If you guys remember, everybody points to like the Phil and Kai, oh, Phil's the bad guy. Ronnie's the nicest guy in the history of the world. And Ronnie had haters because people felt so strongly that Jay should win. So Jay, definitely number 5. And also, Jay Cutler has his own supplement line that is available at tigerfitness.com. And so does Ronnie Coleman. So does Phil Heath. So does Marc Lobliner. Anyway, number 8, Franco Columbu won 2 Olympia titles. Basically, he was Arnold's training partner. He was the short one. And honestly has the greatest, in my opinion, pec-shoulder tie-in in the history of the sport. And I just got to say that he was also a World's Strongest Man competitor, an actor, power lifter. I mean, just an all-around awesome dude. Number 9, this is one guy that I would actually argue could be as close to first as he wants to be due to longevity, and that's Dexter the Blade Jackson. Dexter Jackson, you know, at nearly 46 years old, placed second in the Olympia, won the Arnold 5 times. Dexter is a classic, a gentleman, someone who's going to be in the sport a long time, phenomenal genetics, and also just, you got to admire someone who doesn't get injured and just keeps winning and winning and winning, and bringing a physique at 46 years old, probably better than the physique he brought in his mid-30s. Number 10, this one could be debated. I might have put Levrone here. I might have put some other people here. But Flex Wheeler, he never won the Olympia title. He won the Arnold 4 times. And honestly, if he trained, like Dorian said, Flex would have beat just about anybody if he trained as hard as Dorian, Ronnie, or any of those guys. I'll make an argument for this top 10. The number 10 spot can be taken by anybody, such as I believe even Cormier needs a mention there. Honorable mentions, I believe that Flex, he got 10th, but he's definitely in the running. I believe Levrone, based on just overall awesomeness, stage presence, and all that. Sean Ray, a phenomenal competitor. And someone posted on Facebook, Lee Priest. I wouldn't put Lee Priest in the top 10. I'd put him in the top 30, top 20 even, but not in the top 10. I just believe Lee's done very well in the Olympia, done very well on other endeavors. But to say that he deserves that 10th spot above Flex, Cormier, or Levrone, you know, I believe that's not really going to happen. One of the other contentious spots was Phil Heath being 5th. And I believe he deserves to have his spot because Phil Heath is still going. And we don't know where he's going to stop, and I don't see anybody stopping him right now unless Kai decides, or unless things work out where Kai competes in the Olympia, or if Big Ramy knocks him down, and Big Ramy could be on this top 10 list in the next 5 years. Anyway, guys, I'm Marc Lobliner, tigerfitness.com. Chime in down below who you feel is the top 10 Mr. Olympian if you agree with this list. I'm Marc Lobliner, tigerfitness.com, because critiquing a subjective sport, that's not a game.